right, it is Monday, 19th of August, 2024, the year of the Lord. Karibuni sana. This is the Morning Cafe. How hot is the coffee where you are? My name is Fred Indimuli.
The coffee is definitely hotter, and the shoe is about to get even hotter than your coffee or porridge, whatever you choose for this morning and for this week, because we're going to be serving you what you need to know. Kutoka leo hadi Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm usually Stanley Nyaringita. For Monday, in case you just joining us for the very first time, for the conversations that happened over the weekend, this is the panel that we get for you to analyze all that.
Yes, Kipruto Rapkirwa, Mombingaru, and Samuel Pogisi will be in studio. Unfortunately, Philip Kisi will not be able to make it, but a lot to discuss today. It is Kawira Mwangaza'S big day at the Senate, a special seating starting this morning just to hear her impeachment motion, her third impeachment in less than 2 years. That, of course, will be the biggest discussion. Plus a lot more, including politics and education reforms. So do stand by for that conversation.
Oh yes, something that you also need to stand by for is health matters, because Monday we tell you how your health is. First off, we start with managing diabetes. Clinical nutritionist Zarha Mohammed will be joining us to understand the type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and other diabetes, as we also analyze how data looks like, not only in Kenya, but across borders. Alafu tunaingia kwa ile skin care vizuri. Oh yes.
Okay.
So last time, okay, so nilisha kupea Kenya. But then, if you look at her, you wouldn't believe that she's 50 years old. Her name is Paris Mbuthe. She's an esthetician. As we discussed, Lumicell non-surgical facelift. Okay. Ni to make sure that your skin pops up vizuri, hakuna zile dent nini. It has an even kind of a skin routine. Oh yes. Let's take a look at the dailies now. Start off with the Standard. Inafaa ikuwe na huku nyuma.
Okay, gazeti ni mingi clearly, but Tanzania Standard. Terror squads Ruto unleashed on Gen Z. That's a big headline on the front page of the Standard. But Mwangaza to face MCS again as Senate begins censure probe. That is definitely the biggest discussion this morning.
On Daily Nation, stalled reforms plunge schools into confusion. They'll go with matters education as well.
Oh yes. Gachagua arusha mshale. Mishale hata si mshale. Tutakuja kueleza ni mishale gani hii naibu wa rais anarusha. Ni habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo.
Na picha ambayo amechagua ni ile pia kirusha. Kwenye gazeti la Business Daily, state dividend income hits 80 billion Kenya shillings Ruto directive. We'll be back to tell you all about this and the numbers there.
It's a long one. Audit and adds financial rot at the sports fund. That's the front page of the Star. And this one goes with a totally different story altogether. But yes, we'll be telling you a lot more about the Star in the coming weeks. To stand by for that.
On People Daily, big war for old money. Love the headline. Just as easy put. A whole conversation away matters succession, something that we were discussing last week as well.
And you realize this picture of the retired president, the second president of Kenya, Daniel Arap Moi, is also on the front page of the Star, a Standard newspaper. So it's a rare Monday to get some of these faces. Even Kibor is there as well. That's People Daily. As far as the region is concerned, the East African crucial EAC road to miss deadline. They say Bagamoyo-Malindi Highway, meant to reduce travel time and ease congestion in East Africa ports, seems set to miss the 2025 completion date as Tanzania grapples with funding administrative challenges. So this is one of the biggest joint projects in the East African region, Bagamoyo-Malindi Highway. Kir set to extend transitional government. A presidential meeting noted the inaugural elections planned for December are untenable due to poor preparations, meaning Salva Kiir will continue as leader of South Sudan. That's the East African. Staying in the region, we take a look at what's happening in Uganda. The whole of last week, they were talking about that disaster at Kitezi.
Kitezi, yes. This
week, they move on to matters health. And the front page of the Daily Monitor only has space for this story. Ravages of hepatitis B. Pangs of a liver disease, a lethal yet often forgotten disease, the silent killer manifested in A, B, C, D, and E variants, is claiming of people and shattering the lives of thousands. As Uganda joined the rest of the world to mark the hepatitis month in May, we went behind the numbers to put a face to this monster. So this is a special report that they've chosen to go with on the front page of the Daily Monitor. Up there, Museveni to East African countries, we are richer if we trade together. So yes.
I think on the Insert Healthy Living, they decided to revive the conversation about Kitezi, matters poor waste management. In case you're wondering what Kitezi is, a whole place that a landslide that
it's a landfill.
Landfill that killed a number of people, around 50 there.
And of course, matters waste management is a discussion that's also relevant in Kenya as well. We'll be having that later on. Let's cross the border into Tanzania and we start off with the Citizen. How systemic obstacles keep teen mothers away from school. Hundreds of young mothers are being denied their right to education due to systemic failures, primarily within the teaching profession, despite government policies supporting their return to school. I remember Magufuli had said, if you get pregnant, you don't need to go back to school, a few years back. Quite a controversial statement, but at least...
some leaders in Kenya have also made some of these declarations.
But according to the policy that stands right now, even it doesn't matter whether you're pregnant or not, after giving birth, as long as you're still within the age, you should go back to school. SADC calls urgent meeting over Mpox outbreak. Yes, this is a growing concern. The Mpox, quite a number of cases have been reported in Kenya as well. So in Tanzania too, and that region, the SADC has called for an urgent meeting. This threatens to actually go into a full-blown
so be very, very cautious about this. Still in Tanzania, kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi, taarifa kuu hapa, masuala ya siasa. Kumbuka, they're going to be having the civic polls come this November. Ni a few months. I think it's just September actually. Ni September, October, then November. Ni Mbowe, Lissu, urais Chadema. Chadema ni chama chao pale. Moja katika viongozi hawa waandamizi anaweza kupitishwa kugombea urais mwaka ujao. Lissu waandika barua rasmi akitangaza nia, wasomi waweka kwenye mizani. Kwenye taarifa nyingine, DCI ya kule na DPP wafunguka sakata la binti kubakwa na vijana wa afande.
Masuala mengine, hii kesi imekuwa ikiendelea kwa muda sasa. Swala nyingine nyeti ni usalama wa watoto. Sasa wanasema kwenye viwanja vya michezo. You remember they were talking about the safety of children on their way to school back home. Children have been kidnapped, disappearing. And so the safety of children is still a key discussion point in Tanzania. These are just some of the dailies that we'll be looking at. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in depth, so do stand by for that. For now, let's come back home and take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi. It being a Monday, mambo inakaa namna gani hapa Nairobi?
Looks smooth actually right now. Not many red patches, though Jogoo Road naona imeanza ku...
Jogoo Road is actually behaving funny because you can see the red patches are on the way away from town. So you wonder, okay, nani anaenda huko upande mwingine? Guys should be coming towards town. So immediately after City Stadium roundabout, once you take on Jogoo Road, you encounter some bits and pieces of slow traffic there, and it's building up. Meanwhile, on your way to town, it's looking green, unusually clear for this time of day.
Oh yes.
Even Buruburu Makadara, which usually has a lot of yellow and red, it's all green right now. Nothing much to report. I guess it's a slow Monday, and as far as traffic is concerned. The other pressure point, and as far as traffic is concerned, tuende tuangalie pale
mapema.
Pangani interchange. It's already building up nicely. This is the bottleneck between Kiambu Road and Thika Road.
Yes.
So kama umechelewa hapa utapata traffic ile ya kawaida hapa Pangani. But further up uko mbele, Thika Road and Kiambu Road are looking good. So shida sio shida, ni kawaida. Pangani wale watu watumia hii barabara wanajua hapo kawaida lazima usimame na ukaekae hapo kidogo. Other roads getting to town, a bit of a snarl up there once you get to the city, to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout from Mombasa Road. A bit of a slowdown, and I guess that's just has to do with traffic up. So it's really building fast. Nowadays, because of the expressway, it doesn't give much of a problem, but it would appear today there's a bit of a problem there. Something similar happening on Langata Road as you get closer to T-Mall roundabout. There's a bit of a slowdown there next to Weston Hotel, but after that, even Magadi Way is looking good. So those using Langata Road, beware. There could be a bit of a slowdown once you get closer to T-Mall. Gog Road is looking good. Ile kawaida tu, shida inakuwa pale Prestige interchange, hapo kuna cross, barabara zina cross hivi kama msalaba. Hapo tu. After that, it's good all the way to town. And finally, Wayaki Way, a bit of a slowdown there once you get to Nairobi School, hapo. After that, heading to town, it's okay. So traffic situation a bit slow, but the usual pressure points, bado ziko.
Bado ziko. Tuangalie weather. So remember last week, I told you according to the Kenya Meteorological Department, it had given a focus since last week until today, just showcasing how in different parts of the country it is going to get some cloudy conditions as well as intermittent cold. So let's see how until today, they're going to be releasing a new forecast for tomorrow. But until today, this is in Kisumu. Cloudy conditions, as I was telling you, but then highs of 27 degrees Celsius. That is in Kisumu. Tuangalie Nairobi today. You're going to be expecting as
it's really chilly.
Right now it's 12 degrees.
Feels like 11.
Yeah. But then hopefully itakuwa imeongezeka getting into the afternoon, as high as 23, but then they say for the mid-morning hours today, expect cloudy conditions as well. So as you leave the house today morning, make sure that you're dressed as warm as possible. To the coastal region, hapa tukiteseka na some 12, 11 degrees in Mombasa.
Double that.
20, yeah, actually it's double that. 23 degrees Celsius, wow. Some light showers expected into the afternoon in Mombasa and its environs, so be wary of that. If you're in county 001, but highs of 21, 28 rather. Tuangalie finally, Kiambu. Na mtu alikuwa anasema alitoka Kiambu leo asubuhi. Ilibidi avae jacket mbili, and definitely that is how it's looking like today morning. If you're living there in Kiambu, toka kwa nyumba na jacket and a whole scarf because it's 12 degrees, but then it promises to get warmer than that into the day, highs of 23 degrees Celsius. Also similar to Nairobi, cloudy into the mid-morning. That is how the weather is looking like. Speaking of how things are going to be looking like today, let's give you a brief news diary of what you're going to be seeing in our news bulletins as well as our digital platforms. So first off, into actually major happenings today into the Senate. You remember last week that particular vetting process of the Inspector General of Police, who is Inspector General of Police nominee Douglas Kanja. That report, which was being done by Joint Security Committees of the National Assembly and the Senate, will be tabled today. So wait to see on that. But then the biggest news for today, ladies and gentlemen, the impeachment motion for Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza begins today. So today, major highlights that you're going to be seeing is the charges against Mwangaza will be read, and then this will be followed by opening statements on behalf of the County Assembly. Now this will be done by the lawyers representing the County Assembly, and then later on we're going to be having opening statements on behalf of the governor. Then later we're going to be having showcasing of evidence by the County Assembly, cross-examination and re-examination. So stick around for that. We're going to be beaming this live pictures for you. This process actually begins as early as 9 a.m. into around, I believe, to 5 p.m., 6 p.m. there. Today's day one, and then tomorrow is day two. Then finally on our page there, something that, a conversation that has been happening in the country. Uber will be hosting a media hangout today. So basically, they're going to be having filling questions and clarifications on issues including driver earnings and how the company is taking action. So basically, a brief context on this, not only Uber, but then a number of digital hailing apps have, the drivers now of these hailing apps have been pushing the hailing apps to have the minimum price of each ride to be 300 Kenyan shillings. So this particular forum will be for these drivers to ensure that the hailing apps actually push for this particular process. So wait to see how this will be and the move by the drivers. That is just a nutshell of what to expect today. Let's take a look at today in history. And today in history, Fred will take you all the way to Mali, where on the 19th of August, a day like today, back in 2020, the African Union suspended the membership of Mali following the capture of then President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, the Prime Minister, and other government officials by the army. This particular capture happened on the 18th of August, and then later on the following day, the African Union suspended. They're actually supposed to have the elections early this year, fresh kind of elections. This whole push is still being trying to be materialized, but then the economy is still tough. That is on Today in History. Let's take a look at the newspaper review right now.
All right, terror squads Ruto unleashed on Gen Z. That's a big headline on the front page of the Standard this morning. The Standard, it says, can reveal the men who infiltrated the protest by youthful Kenyans are trained to take down terrorists. They use cars without number plates and clad in balaclavas and hoods to conceal their identity. Wow. Kumbe ilikuwa ni special unit. Aya mungeweza. The other story given prominence on the front page of the Standard, sidelined heroes behind growth of Eldoret town to a city. So they're still talking about the elevation of Eldoret to city status.
Yeah.
And I told you, this is looking very much, you see these two papers, People Daily and the Standard, have more or less the same images on the front page.
Yes, yes.
That of the retired late President Moi and the late Jackson Kibor as well, featuring there. So they say 22 individuals, among them athletes, philanthropists and farmers, were awarded state honors for their distinguished services that led to the growth of Eldoret. Residents, however, say there are men and women who are not awarded, but their effort in multiple fields helped shape the city. Yes, big discussion there. Now to the big story of the day, and this also is given prominence on the front page there on the strip on the right-hand side. Mwangaza to face MCAs again in Senate as Senate begins censure probe. Elsewhere, Waikanja thinks tech will fight crime. Water shortage as Mount Kenya rivers dry. And as far as politics is concerned, two key headlines down there. Uhuru, ever-present force even in retirement. And we were talking about just how everyone is keen to invoke the retired president's name. Elsewhere, Wamala to Raila, quit Azimio now. So they're trying to force Raila out of Azimio. Mpox also is there, displaced await Mpox jab in DRC. And Kabrasi emerge victors in Dala. That's as far as sports is concerned. Okay, fine. And now that, because the EPL is back, Man City, where thirst for wins never ends. Yes, they beat Chelsea 2-0 yesterday, and Manchester City managed to actually capture this, and it's there on the back page of the Standard this morning. That's in as far as this paper is concerned.
All right, let's take a look at Daily Nation. Quite a number of headlines on the front page, some similar to what we've taken a look at on the Standard. But then the big news, matters education in bold there. They say stalled reforms plunge schools into confusion. More than a year after the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms report was launched, many of the recommendations are yet to be implemented. The situation has affected government funding for education and operations within the crucial sector. On the bottom scroll, Oginde's fate as ESCC boss now in President's hands. In a nutshell, they say when the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee met on July 31st to hear from stakeholders on proposed changes to ESCC Act, a plot was hatched to end Bishop David Oginde's term as the anti-graft Tsar, or rather Za. Barely a year into office. You can read that on page 12. And on the left scroll, something very interesting story. Till death do us part? They say no, says the man as he weds the dead partner. So apparently, the wedding committee was in place, invitation cards had been sent out, and the presiding reverend was all set. But the man proposes, God decides. The wedding was not to be since Stanley Masharia's partner Nancy Muthoni died 11 days to the big day. That is on page 2. Something interesting there. On the top scroll, why Ruto could replace Raila as Mount Kenya's bogeyman in 2027. That is on page 7. On the next page, they revive the whole conversation about finance bill approve a state's plan to salvage some provisions of shelved Finance Bill 2024. This could be one of the biggest talking points this week, as we wait to see how this will materialize. Cabinet Secretary of Treasury, John Badi, as well as the President, have made mention of some of the reforms and plans to actually bring back some of the hizo vipengele baada ya vipenge vya mswada huu. Tuangalie kule nyuma into sports. Kenyan clubs left with a mountain to climb. Say Gor beaten South Sudan. Kenya police held in Nairobi in preliminary round first leg ties. This reminds me that CHAN is coming in this September. I'm going to be hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. Something to look out to. That's the Daily Nation.
Alright, tuangazie gazeti lingine na ni gazeti la Taifa Leo. Gachagua arusha mishale, ni habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Ajuta kwamba watu aliowasaidia mwaka 2022 wamemgeuka na ndio sasa wanapanga njama dhidi yake. Aonya wanaomkata miguu mlimani kwamba chuma chao kimotoni katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao. Habari zaidi pale, Raila bado ana risasi ya mwisho. Manaibu wapya wa kinara wa ODM Nasir na Arati wasema kiongozi wao asipuuzwe uchaguzi mkuu wa 2027.
Nafikiria kidokezo hiki cha Gachagua cha Raila na kile juu cha Kalonzo.
Kalonzo alenga gema.
Kimewania
piga jeki.
Kimewana.
Kuna vile iko na connection pale.
Kuna connection.
EPL yarudi kwa vishindo, wazito wa kitamba, na wazito ni timu kubwa kama Arsenal. Wengine ambao walikuwa na zuba pale.
Walianza na Manchester United, tafadhali.
Tuangazie masuala ya biashara.
Kwenye masuala ya biashara, state dividend income hits 80 billion cash shillings on Ruto directive. The separatist parastatals required to surrender 80% of the net profit. And Safaricom dividend payout to Treasury rises to 16.4 billion Kenyan shillings. On to the ticker, conversations that you need to know this morning. First off, the VAT collections exceed target by 6 billion. That is on Matters Economy. Still on Matters Economy, this is strong shilling cuts external debt stock. So Kenya's external public debt dropped by 939 billion in the 6 months to June 2024. As the shilling appreciated against major foreign currencies. Something else that you'll also want to know this morning, Kenya Power settles 7.9 billion cash shillings to Ormat, which is a US energy firm. Those are the conversations on Business Daily. To the Star.
Audit and Arts financial rot at the Sports Fund. Auditor General has cast doubt on payouts. They say that more than 5.4 billion shillings was not supported by expenditure returns. Story on page 4 and 5. Of the Star. They have an interesting photo of the president who received a second doctorate degree. This was an honorary doctorate from the Baraton University at the weekend. Day of reckoning as Governor Mwangaza'S faces her accusers. Yes, Senate has a special sitting today to get to hear the charges against Governor Kawira Mwangaza'S, who has been impeached by the county government or county assembly of Meru. Shock of interns using Google to perform surgery. This is also a story.
ChatGPT unaingia pale
how to cut out someone's heart. Inakuletea unakata. Hiyo story iko kwenye The Star this morning.
Gen Z.
Let's take a quick look at the People Daily, and I was telling you the front page of the People Daily looks very similar to the front page of the Standard. It has an image or pictures there of at least these two gentlemen, late President Moi and the late Jackson Kibor. On the Standard, they talk about the elevation of Eldoret town into a city. But here, they talk about something different. Still from the Rift Valley, big war for old money. All these gentlemen have already died, but now their children or their
grandchildren and
even grandchildren are now fighting for the property they left. Families of prominent figures in the North Rift locked in legal fights over their estates comprising land, real estate, and billions of cash in banks. Today we have two leaders from the Rift Valley. They'll be telling us.
Oh yes.
Shida iko wapi?
Oh yes.
Pesa ni mingi, lakini shida iko. Pale juu, inside Kalonzo's scheme to kick out Raila out of Azimio. Yes, siasa ni mingi.
Will it succeed?
Everyone is invoking the name of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
Either to support government, either to support in the Mulima, or for support within Azimio. What will he do come 2027? Of course, a mention of Governor Kawira in the third fight for her political soul.
Will she survive this time?
Oh yes, that's the People Daily. Let's take a look at the cartoons. And this is a cartoon on the Standard. And the two gentlemen there in front of a grave, and with the epitaph there, Finance Bill 2024, which was rejected, born early 2024, died mid-2024, rest in peace. But now there's a gentleman there, a caricature of the president saying, I want him back alive and kicking again. And he's telling this to MPs. And I was telling you, yes, the Finance Bill will be back, more or less. So do stand by for that. And however much it may change, some of the controversial bills or clauses in that bill could just make a comeback in coming weeks. On the cartoon, on the Nation, talk about university funding application. So you see the way they've classified the rich, middle class, and the needy. And but there's only one queue. The needy. But these are the fat cats. So everyone, everyone, even those who can afford with this new funding model, the less vulnerable, needy, they're all classifying themselves as the needy. So still a big debate on that university funding model. Do we have more cartoons?
Not for today, but then this is a panel that are going to be on set, just analyzing some of these conversations on the front pages.
Kipruto Rapkirwa, Dr. Mumbingaru and Samuel Pogisio will be in studio. As I said earlier, Philip Kisia will not be able to make it today, but do stand by for this discussion after the break. And as always, you can be part of it through social media, on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. You can tag me on X. My handle is at Freddy Ndimuli.
And your Ringita_2047 is our SMS number. Coming up at around 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., conversations on health. Stick around for that. Right now, though, reach for a break.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit.
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're right on time for the State of the Nation right here on the Morning Cafe at TV47. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Glad you could join us. This morning, very varied headlines across all the dailies, but there are two daily papers that have almost similar storylines, and that's the People Daily and the Standard. This morning, they have images or pictures of retired President Daniel Moi and some other old gentlemen from the Rift Valley, including the late Jackson Kibor. We'll be getting to that in a short while. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. Dr. Mwangaza'S, Karibu sana, good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Yes, Dr. Ngaru has served as a member of the East Africa Legislative Assembly, and before that, she was the mayor of Thika Town. Karibu. Samuel Pogisio, ICT Minister in the Kibaki II administration, also served as majority leader in the Senate. Karibu sana and good morning.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Kipruto Rapkirwa, Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki I administration.
Thank you.
Welcome. We rarely talk about the Rift Valley. There's a lot now we can talk about. The elevation of Eldoret town to city status is one of those big discussions that we've had. And you've been a mayor of a town, Dr. Ngaru. There's a difference in how a municipality or a town or an urban center is run, because my question is it possible to have a city run by the same county governor in instances where probably there are more than one urban or more than one big town in that county, of which Kiambu is a perfect example. There's Kiambu town and there's Thika town, which had separate leadership before the advent of devolution. Now that we're seeing a town as important as Eldoret that shares, even I think it's shared between 3 counties. I think Elgeyo Marakwet touches part of it, Nandi County and Uasin Gishu. With devolution, does that present a challenge when it comes to running of a city now like Eldoret?
Fred, good morning and thank you for having me again. First of all, I want to congratulate Eldoret in their new city status. They've beaten Thika. We wanted to be a city before them. In fact, they started the process of making Thika a city in the last regime. I happen to be a member of the Thika Municipal Board. And it's exciting. They beat us. Thika is going through the processes. And I hope we make it to be the 5th. To come back to your question, I think Eldoret is due. They have got all it takes to be a city. But there is a challenge. And the challenge is probably we need to relook at the way the cities are managed. Nairobi is a city. You know the enormous challenges that Nairobi has, even after being a city for a long, long time. Mombasa also is a city for quite a while. Kisumu attained their city status. And the latest before Eldoret was Nakuru. All those cities are due. They have what it takes. But when it comes to the management, having served as a mayor, there are a few things that probably needs to be done. And one of them is to relook at the balance between the governor and the MCAs. If I had the kind of resources that are being pushed to counties during this time of devolution, I think I would have performed wonders in Thika. I still have that vision.
Okay.
And I can tell you, we have a problem with the resources that are coming to the county governments, and now the elevation of a a town to a city without that check of the resources and how those resources are going to be used. We will still have the wastage, the corruption that we are witnessing, and the challenges between counties that cut across or are neighboring each other. And you have picked Eldoret, being between Marakwet, Uasin Gishu, and other areas. We are having the same challenge in Thika, because a part of Thika is in Kiambu. A bit of it, and quite a bit of it, is in Murang'a. And the county boundary has created a gray area. And it has stalled the consensus even when it comes to public participation. I live in Thika on the Murang'a side. But I receive services from the Kiambu side, and I vote in Kiambu, and no one is willing to touch that.
There was even a time when one of the governors, I think the first governor of Kiambu, had suggested that the headquarters of Kiambu County be moved to Thika.
Yeah.
It goes a long way to say the kind of need there is to control the bigger towns within a county by the county government.
Yes.
It's that confusion that I'm more worried about in the running of now a city.
It is still there in a big way. Thika has space as compared to the Kiambu headquarters, but yet it is on the far end of services for Kiambu residents when you consider that Kiambu starts from the very far end next to Nyandarua. I remember suggesting to our first governor, if I were him, I would have had Kiambu town as the county headquarter, but have Thika as another Thika town as another big town that handles the lower Kiambu, and also get an upper region like Kimende, Rariuko, to take care of the residents of Upper Kiambu. I think there is need, not only for Kiambu, but other cities, including Mombasa. You look at Taita Taveta, it's a part of the coast, but it's quite a distance. Yes. Look at all the way to Lamu, to Marindi. So maybe the organizers of those boundaries should sit and see how it can be revoked.
Wanapogisio, there's definitely a lot of excitement that comes with the elevation of a town like Eldoret to a city. It is a shared resource between the counties that are there. Now it will be up to the county government of Uasin Gishu to run this city. Do you see a challenge there that probably we need to relook at the management of urban centers and probably delink them from the devolved units, as it were?
Thank you, Fred. I still think there hasn't been enough fanfare in celebrating Eldoret as a city, because if you look at the history of Eldoret, like most cities which were settler cities, they had no chance of growing into cities at all. Apparently the settlers did not fancy too much growth in their cities. As long as they had adequate facilities for themselves, they did not require that the city grows so big. But they provided an opportunity for Eldoret, for example, to have expansive land. Well, let me say fortunately for Eldoret, the three counties you're talking about have become residents of Eldoret by virtue of expansion and facilities. The Marakwet, for example, have moved into Eldoret. Elgeyo Marakwet people have moved into Eldoret. The Nandi is definitely, already part of Eldoret. The Pokot, from as far as northern side, the North Rift, have moved into Eldoret. They own properties there. So Eldoret to share is not a problem. The only difficulty is that Eldoret, a difference between Eldoret, Nairobi, and Mombasa, for example, is that we have city counties, which are easier to manage. And then we have cities within counties, which require different management. And that's where the conflicts could come from. The resources for the city vis-a-vis the resources for the county. For example, when it comes to employment, when it comes to sharing facilities and things like that, that's where there's a possibility of conflict, even if it's just a small conflict. I must say that looking at the photos, actually, there's a great opportunity to discuss this gentleman, the late gentleman, these guys who I think had a contribution, each of them. But I can only cite Moi, the president, Moi, the former president. Without the former President Moi, I don't think we would be talking about the city called Eldoret at all. And so all the others have their role.
What kind of influence did he have on the growth of that town?
If Moi did not, Moi's influence on Eldoret started way before independence and after independence. So that when the settlers left and the farms were left to government, he was the main guy in the Kenyatta government. And secondly, when he became president, there are certain things that he just established or caused to happen in Eldoret, without which there would be no city status. The university was started from scratch, Moi University. The Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, which became a big teaching hospital, would not have been possible. Even communication, the roads, communicating between Eldoret and, say, Baringo, West Pokot, and so on, would have been very difficult. But apart from all that, everything that you have seen there, Moi, was actually started by Moi. And those are the main things which are considered now. The airport, which at one time was called the White Elephant, the Takwel Gorge, the Takwel electricity was started. And without electricity, there would be no city. And all that came and terminated or joined the grid around Eldoret. So, I mean, you can count so many things that Moi did that if he were not president at that time, I mean, there would be no talk of Eldoret city. Yeah.
And now the fifth president of the Republic comes from that area as well. This means that Eldoret does really stand a chance to grow even further now that it's been elevated to a city. Are you as excited as Bwanapogisi about this elevation of Eldoret town? I know you come from the neighboring Trans Nzoia, but I know you definitely use Eldoret a lot.
I use Eldoret, and of course I have some little interest within Uasin Gishu, not much. There's some little interest in terms of land.
Just a little?
Just a little. But more important, I just want to resonate with this statement that President Moi did a lot for Eldoret, including the fact that it's one of the municipalities that got some central bank presence, and of course, and that airport, the international airport, has boosted Eldoret a great deal. Apart from that, of course, he had his own direct interest within Eldoret in terms of land. And there are many other individuals like Mzee Kibor, people like Ruben Chesire, people like Kipchoge Keino, who is still alive and strong. These are people who created some business empire within Eldoret. And not to mention the people from the greater Elgeyo Marakwet, especially the Marakwet ethnic community. Their presence in Eldoret town, not Uasin Gishu alone, in Eldoret town in terms of business presence is so huge that it makes a lot of sense. But my prayer is that because in Africa, our major problem is leadership, I do hope that the county government of Uasin Gishu will be able to have a board that will be dealing with the municipality and give them some latitude or freedom, and also improve on their own revenue collection. Because the danger that we see today, unlike the days of Dr. Mumbi, is that municipalities and even counties, they are not collecting money. They are only waiting greatly for the money from the central government. My prayer is that if we are to improve revenue collection methods and we reduce pilferage, a town like Eldoret is likely to grow. And of course, we also thank the immediate former president because he was able to do some bypasses. Today, if we are going to Kitale, you will not have to face the traffic jam within the town. Because you see, Eldoret was like a transit town going to Uganda. And at times you could spend about 2 hours crossing Eldoret from one corner to the other. But now with the bypass, it saves a lot of time that you can divert and go southern bypass all the way to Militisa. That has assisted a bit of communication and also a bit of development in the rural areas. And more important is, I hope, the people of Wasingishu and the neighboring counties will be able to tap into the potential of the town, because as the city grows, there is the food. A part of the success for Murang'a and Kiambu has been their proximity to Nairobi, and they have been able to use it. We hope also the people of those particular areas will make it possible for them to invest within town, because many of our people, we are happy to be in the farmlands. In fact, originally, they used to say the moment electricity reaches some of our people, they move away. The moment the road opens up, but nowadays, they actually move towards town. And we need for them to understand and invest in the town and be there almost on permanent basis.
Do you think that probably it is time we relook at the leadership of urban centers? I know devolution has provided a whole layer of leadership, but could it be necessary to reintroduce another layer, probably for running of urban centers like Eldoret City, that probably the governor of Uasin Gishu is too busy handling the bigger county, the larger county, but then probably we need a mayor to run the city. For example, the New York City, the New York State is run by a governor, but for the New York City, it has its own mayor.
It makes a lot of sense, and I hope, because under the current arrangement, I think the governor has a chance to appoint somebody for the municipality, like for example, Kitale. So I hope the governor of Uasin Gishu will use that particular window to appoint a team of serious professionals with the requisite leadership capacity and focus for purposes of improving services within Eldoret, so that it is not just a city for the sake of it. Let it be attractive, let it be seen that there is a difference between the municipality that it was and the new city status that they have acquired.
Yes, it is definitely a different kind of challenge running an urban center. You've seen even in Nairobi that the county government has had enough challenges. At some point, they had to even bring in NMS just to run the city. The running of a city is totally different from running a rural county like Uasin Gishu.
I think it is the commitment to have to identify the services that are basically urban centered, because you have to think about garbage collection, water, keeping the city clean, while in the rural municipalities, the challenge is not as much as in the city. But yet, even civic education is needed so that the voters also can have an opportunity to relook at who their representatives are into the urban areas. For example, in my town, Thika, you'll find the central business district, which is also a ward. The people there will elect as their representative somebody who, instead of being a part of making the central business better, they are the ones who are bringing their voters as focus, and, taking all the space in the pavements, you know, and they are the ones who are fighting the governor because of the matatu congestion in town. You know, those kind of challenges, they are not in the rural areas. And therefore, we need a lot of civic education on how to appreciate the differences in the two parts. In the urban centers, the cleanliness of a town is different from what you'll have in the rural areas. Whenever we talk about cleanliness, I always pride myself, because when I was there, Thika was the cleanest. And I remember when we started cleaning the town in the night, because we sat and asked ourselves, we don't have time, we don't have the space to clean during the day, because the spaces are taken up by parkings. There's a lot of activity. And we introduced cleaning the town in the night. And discussing that challenge alone was a nightmare. Then we started it slowly, and it was taken in. And we handled the challenges that were being too much for us to clean during the day. Eventually, it paid out. But you then getting involved to lead from the front. I always make this joke. When I started cleaning once a month with the women, put on those uniforms as take a broom and sweep with the women. Oh, I was called by the elders of the city. You know, that's why we have problem with you women when we give you these positions. We made you a mayor, now you are cleaning with the women. You have forgotten who you are. But today, I hear everybody discussing and appreciating President Kagame for coming out once a month to clean the city of Kigali. So those are challenges that probably need to be started by using civic education. And this can be done with what my colleagues here have alluded to. Make smaller units, like what the governor of Kiambu has done, that every sub-county has a municipality within. The problem is the manager, because the manager in the municipalities are direct appointees of the governor. So we sit as a board, and the manager can only take instructions from the governor. There's an issue there. Okay. So we need to relook at the Urban Areas Act, have a lot of public participation, especially with the technical people. Let them talk to people who can understand, who can tell them those challenges. Because when I speak about them, you are seen as you want to be the next governor. And therefore it's not taken seriously.
That's problematic. Okay.
Thank you.
Before we leave the Rift Valley, there's a quick headline on the front page of People Daily that I want the two gentlemen to talk about. I don't know if this is just a problem that's unique to the Rift Valley, but the People Daily has focused there. Big war for old money. And they have the same picture of the president, and the next one is Jackson Kibor, just like on the front page of the Standard. So the headlines look similar. So families of prominent figures in the North Rift locked in legal fights over their estates comprising land, real estate, and billions of cash in banks. These are very famous faces. The late President Moi, Jackson Kibor, Mark Toh, Kipyego Cheluget, Edward Limo, I think, if I get right, Johan Ruto. And I know there's some regions that also have something similar, but it's not a common problem in this country. Places like Western and Nyanza, you rarely get to hear a lot of this haggling. What is so different about the Rift Valley and or this region, and why is it this way? That someone lives a very successful life, they even get to run this country, but when they exit, it becomes a problem for their families.
Well, Fred, first of all, I think I'll leave that to Honorable Kirwa. He's rubbed shoulders more with this. And he's almost approaching that class.
Who, me?
Old money.
Anyway, let me say this about Rift Valley, and I think the people you're talking about, truly, the people with big money. The difference being that the Rift Valley did not have too many of these people. They are known. I mean, we know those families. We know mostly from farming, they have made their money. And some of them, definitely, like the president, is from everywhere. And the former president, Moi. And it is true that it stems from the bigger Kalenjin culture, that you don't discuss your death, you don't discuss your will, you don't discuss. Some of them actually have no wills until later in life when you're about sure that you're about to go. So there is no discussion per se. And I think that's African. I think that's generally African. You don't displace. It's so the time that the children or the inheritors, the heirs, and come to know about these things, it's usually already complicated. Because then lawyers come in, and also, you have trustees and things like that, and the conflict begins to come. Some of the siblings are given more responsibilities than others, and some of them may want to control larger chunks of this. So I think it stems from our culture to begin with, but most of these are done by the principal. The people you see there have grown their wealth literally single-handedly. Some of them don't even involve their kids in this. They've grown these things single-handedly. So they are the ones who are known. They've accumulated all these resources. And so now is a time, of reckoning for most of them. And it is true for every person. And I'm sorry, I know that, of course, Honorable Kirwa is not yet there. I'm only praying for him that it could be old money someday. But the thing about the way we do business is that we do not involve our children. We protected them from there. We were sending them to universities outside. They come back and find already established. Now is the time of. They have not named, people like Nicholas Biwott there. I don't know why they have left him out. And these are some of the bigger people that should be there, and many others, by the way, who should have been named in those. But I suspect that the difficulty is coming now to terms with who owns this place and how do we own it. And I'm sure if we went through one by one, and we see them now displaying these things in public. What was private is now in court, in the public eye, and we're beginning to see the things that we are talking about. Otherwise, before that, they controlled it. They were, they kept it. They were in charge. But you see, when the in charge doesn't have another in charge, things are likely to go in that direction. I think that's where we need to start looking. Families. The other aspect is, so who are these families in the African context? So you find out later that this guy has named people We did not know they were part of the family. You see that? Because we have family and then we have family, you know, and then we are, so it's like having the outgrower estate, and then there is your nuclear estate, and those kind of things. So you have issues when all of a sudden other people show up, and the crisis begins. A new case is struck, and the discussions now is how to include people who are not maybe originally in this. In this
but
plan.
Previously totally unknown.
Unknown to the rest of the family. So we have those are the issues, and I think dealing with these matters now, my generation after these guys and the ones below us may not have such issues to deal with, because the kids now come up and they kind of want to run their own things. The problem, in my view, with this kind of generations was that there would have been kids there who are just waiting for you to die, and so that they can have something for themselves, and that is very unfortunate. Some of them did not actually work very hard, because now I know my father has money, I know my grandfather has money, and it goes down to the generations of the grandchildren as well, now coming to say, hey, we were also grandchildren to this guy. And so we need to be included. So, I mean, all those are rules which the Kalenjin community would then have elders come and sort out. But now, because elders are not allowed into your family, you're dealing with courts, and now, of course, the open public is following your cases. So there is going to be a generational problem for a while.
And now a lot about these families will be talked about now that Eldoret becomes a city and opens up that area to the rest of the country. In a progressive society, these problems are usually sorted out because this gentlemen look like they have access to lawyers and very progressive ways of handling things. Do you agree that, yes, it has a lot to do with the culture? And probably, do you think that that is about to change anytime soon?
Well, generally we are a society in transition. Society in transition in the sense that the new ways of doing things is not in tandem with our traditional society. Remember, like the Poko, the Nandis, and the rest of the Kalenjin, the land was owned by the community, and therefore the apportioning any land was not one of the considerations when somebody passes on. So basically the wealth of an individual was livestock, and therefore livestock would be easy because there were almost, some elders could almost have every boma with their own livestock. For example, my father had 6 wives, and each of them had their own boma when we were in Tanzania. When we came back to Kenya and we were told, you have to buy a parcel of land, my father at least was hardworking. He was able to buy different parcels of land for different ladies. And at the end, it was not the sons who were being given the wealth. For example, whatever portion belonged to my mother was given to her when my father was still alive, and later on I shared with my brother. That is how we began. But it is not only limited to the Kalenjin. If you are to check here in Kiambu, the Koinanges, they have almost more than almost 50 years of a court case that they have not resolved. Mzee Karume, when he passed on, he didn't have any debt, but later on we had some debts started accumulating from somewhere we don't know, and many other prominent families. Perhaps the Kenyatta family is still intact because of Mama Ngina is still there, and therefore she's the prominent figure holding whatever belongs to the late president. Otherwise, other individuals have that challenge. Now, the second issue is that in Africa, we don't like transiting. I'm still doing a bit of farming with the hope that I will get more wealthy and have more old money. And yet, I already have a son who is a grown-up. Instead of ceding that to him, I'm still pretending that I'm a serious farmer. More so because I'm a former agriculture minister. I think I know farming more than anybody else. Otherwise, at my age, I should not even be doing the things I'm doing. And you know, I went to Denmark when I was IGAD special envoy, and I met a young man. He was about 27, and he had 25,000 pigs and piglets. And therefore, then it was a very interesting issue. I asked him, how do you do all this? He said, I bought the farm from my mother. And I went to the bank. The bank gave me a loan because it was a running concern. Gave money to the mother to put in her own account. Of course, you will inherit that money later on. But the mother said, this small house within the farm, leave it to me. When I come to the farm, that's my house. So in the calculations, that house remained for the mother because the father had already passed on much earlier. And he said, okay, he's happy paying the loan. But he says he was making more money during winter because he had some machinery to be cleaning the streets. So you could see at the age of 27, he's already hands-on in terms of working in the farm. So at the end of the day, of course, they have smaller families. But you see, like for Mzee Kibor, he had a large family. Yeah, I don't want to say how many wives he had.
And I realize that the men from that region don't talk much about their families and how big the families are. Could that be part of the problem?
Even the children, but also there is what we call siblings rivalry. There are some people, as Mheshimiwa say, do wait for you to die among your children. And there are those who want you to be around because they feel you are protecting them from certain vagaries of the environment. So it is a challenge, but I think the best way to do is now to think of how to transit and put it, because most of these parcels, they were not under any company, apart from President Moi and a few other people. It was personal. When my father bought the land, it was in his name, and the other parcel in his name, the other parcel in his name. And it continued like that.
Okay.
But if it was in a company, you can give children your shares, some shares, and you remain the beneficiary for the time being when you are still alive. And I think it's a good idea. I'm now thinking about it.
You just got an idea now.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not unique for the Rift Valley alone. I know Mount Kenya region has a big problem with this, especially. Old money fights by inheritors.
Oh, yes. Big time. He has just mentioned a few names. They say it's our culture, but from where I sit, it's just bad manners. For me, from where I sit, I call it bad manners from both sides. It's good to put your issues, let the whole family know. Like from where I come from, the families live apart. They only converge when the person dies. And sometimes even they don't know. That's why you get court orders being served to be included, some DNAs being done, and I don't know what else. You know, it's just bad manners. I come from a polygamous family, and even today, I know my brothers as my brothers because my late father put it in the open. He did not need Constitution 2010 to do a fair distribution to all his children, whether married or not married. Probably because he didn't have much. But what he had, he was proud of it, but he encouraged his children. This is just a small portion. Use it as a seed to grow. But the children from the old money group have this entitlement. That's why I'm calling it bad manners. An entitlement. Why work?
Okay.
Why do ABCD and my father is and my mother is? So from where I sit, we should streamline. If you are polygamous and the new constitution has allowed them to have more wives than they would want to handle. Make it open. You know, let the children know each other. Let the children know that what is yours is not automatically theirs. And you have a right even not to give it to them. You have a right not to give it to them, so that they also go and work. And I say it with a lot of respect. I know I have 3 children, 1 boy and 2 girls, but all of them are equal as far as I'm concerned. But let us help our communities to do the cultural way and stop this self-entitlement within the families, and let our children work. Well, if they don't work and they are waiting for the land that they will inherit after he has done the farming, Christianity is also not helping us. It's not helping us.
Okay. I thought that was a big solution to...
It's not a solution. You will find even bishops, reverends and all those men of church having the same issues.
It's the reason why many hide their families.
Yes, they hide them. And they come up when things are not good.
And that's a very interesting discussion.
And this is why I'm calling it bad manners. Bad manners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Very interesting discussion about the big headline on the front page of the People Daily, big war for old money. But this one, they focused on what's happening in the Rift Valley area. They cite people like the late President Daniel Moi and the late Jackson Kibora, among others, whose families are currently locked in succession battles in courts. So let's come back to the biggest discussion point of the day, and that has to do with the impeachment of Governor Kawira Mwangaza. The Senate is holding a special sitting beginning today to look into this. But the question is, because the governor has already moved to court to challenge a provision in law where it allows the MCS to reintroduce some of the charges in the previous impeachment that was defeated at the Senate level. Could there be, or is she suggesting that probably this is an abuse of the impeachment process? You've been, Bonapogisio, a senator, and you've served as a majority leader in the Senate. Do you think that probably it is a law that is flawed, that someone could actually be using their impeachment process, abusing it, that's a word, for their own selfish needs?
Well, unfortunately, there is no quick fix. I think the drafters of the law in impeachment, you probably did not anticipate certain things that would happen today. They thought that the steps given in the law and in the standing orders was sufficient to sort out. There is no such a thing as double jeopardy. That would mean you're being accused of the same crime again. And so you have a situation where if you follow the steps, you are likely to be doing exactly what the MCS and Meru are doing. Bring back the same issues. Because there is no such a law that says once we've struck out this part, you're not allowed to bring it back. And what makes it interesting is that there's a checklist of what is absolutely what's required, what's expected of you to do, and they have ticked every box correctly. Then the Senate says, yes, you have ticked every box correctly, so bring it on. It's now accepted, and then the Senate discusses it. That matter in terms of, are we going to do this through committee, or are we going to do it through the plenary? And the plenary, I think sometimes, there is always suspicion about whether if you do it by committee, people think that the committee will be compromised easily and therefore not listen to the case to the end. But some people argue that the committee is more thorough and they actually can bring out the things. The missing link, in my view, is exactly what the governor is asking for. It's a missing link in law, and I don't know how she's going to try and get that so that it be reintroduced into law. but that's not going to be easy. And it's not going to help her now. As my case, as I've always said about the situation, is she the one causing this problem, or this problem is causing her? Because I don't understand how the 3 times you can be impeached in this country, and there is no reconciliation. What happened to the reconciliation efforts that were put in place? So somebody definitely is going to court this situation for a long time. And it doesn't matter how many times. The determination by the MCS in Meru has dumbfounded everybody. I don't understand it. And because what kind of determination it is? What is this determination to get the governor out? Even if it is she's only left with 2 years to go. But again, I don't want to sound prejudicial in any way. I think they have their right. They have their right to do this. There must be an issue that we have not identified. It's like a sickness that recurs. And yet we may have to look deeper under a microscope to see what is the one thing, what is this is a bacterium, or is it a virus, whatever it is that causes this, that's what that is recurring. Is it in our water? Is it in our food? That's how you go back to identify what the disease is. Otherwise, I kept asking my question again. Are there no lessons learned on this thing, on both sides?
Yeah, Bwana Kirwa, even away from the issue of taking advantage of this, because this could occur in other counties, that after every 3 months you could revisit the same issue, because according to the law, after 3 months after the Senate proceedings, the same charges or charges that are similar could be reintroduced through for another impeachment motion against the same governor through the same county assembly. That could make it impossible for a government to work in a situation like this one in Meru, where it would appear the relationship between the county governor and the Senate has been severed completely, that has been broken down completely. In a case where you are unable to resolve the conflicts, the long-standing conflicts, there's provision in law that you can dissolve the county. We've seen the intervention of the president or even the deputy president has not really worked. The 3rd impeachment in less than 2 years. Isn't it clear that that should be the next logical course of action? Dissolve the county government, they go back.
Yeah, it's interesting, Fred, because to begin with, she is an independent candidate. She did not run on any political party. And the dominant parties in that place, apart from UDA, there is the one led by the Honorable Kraitu and the other one led by the Honorable Munya. So when you put all those MCS together, they are in excess of majority. And therefore, when they collude, they will get the results they want. But I would have expected, apart from that, she's a lady. And Kenyans are yet to accept that ladies are as good as men, if not better.
We have 7 governors and they...
Yeah, but this must be women made of steel. You just don't succeed when you are a lady. I'm not a lady, but what I know in society is that if you are at par with a lady, or for a lady to be better than you, she must be double in terms of output. Otherwise, we are all the time, as a society, prejudicial to ladies. And I say so as a father of sons and daughters. And I feel at times we don't give a fair hearing to a lady. Now, number 2, this is Meru community. And Meru community, we know them. And we know there were 2 men who were almost at par. And therefore, this lady was able to outwit both the men, Munya and the Honorable Kraitu. And therefore, they have not settled those scores. And therefore, there could be an element of their presence in some of these impeachment issues. Now, the 3rd issue is that we should have learned from Professor Kivuta Kibwana when he stood strong and he said, we would rather the county is dissolved than we accept the demands from the MCS. And I had a chance to discuss with him one day, And he told me, they were saying, these are resources for the county, give us so much, then the rest will go to the public. And he told them, no, I cannot give 50 people or so much, and yet all this money belongs to the public. And that was the source of contention until there was that commission to investigate and see whether it was necessary to dissolve the county. And as if God was with him, the next election, which he made it strongly, only one of all those MCS came back with him. And under some merciful circumstances, I think he had lost his father. And people just forgave him. Otherwise, the rest was swept away. Today, without the benefit of serious research, if the county of Meru was dissolved and they go for by-election, the lady will come back. And most of those MCS may never see the light of the day. So the issue is, I think we need to lift it now to the president, for the president to use his wisdom, see exactly what to do with that. If they have not been able to resolve the issue, dissolve the county government. It will cost the taxpayers a bit of money, but let us clear this issue, because it is unfortunate. After 5 years, this lady will not have worked, and she may come back. So Meru will lack effective leadership for 10 years, because the MCAs, they have their own reasons, and I know they have not changed from the old councillors we knew. We knew during the days of Dr. Mumbi, where councillors would almost want things to be done their way at the expense of the public benefit.
The County Assembly of Meru looks determined that even if the Senate would save, because we don't know, the case will be listened to, I think, the next 2-3 days, that even if the Senate saves the governor one more time, they will still do this again. That definitely means that the governor, as Bwana Kirwa says, may not be able to work for at least until 2027. That concern, everyone else is watching. Everyone else knows the solution is this. Why are we scared of dissolving or invoking Article 192 and going for dissolution of this county?
Fred, I want to pick it from where Waziri left it. And I have a bias. I have to declare it because I served as the first woman mayor in Central Province. And I know what I went through. Were it not that I had a council, the councillors that he's talking about, that we sat and discussed in an informal forum that there are things that I will not allow myself to do. So if I have to do ABCD, I would rather quit. And as I quit, we will have to agree that I'll speak about it openly so that some of you can go with me. And that's where I agree with the Waziri. I can tell you, the lady is not only dealing with the MCAs. Fortunately, Honorable Peter Munya was not on the ballot. He had already gotten himself out. But you can see his fingers behind the scenes. The owner of the bus and the male ego is an external factor. I was shocked when the court decided to pass it to the elders, and the elders withdrew. And I knew her goose is cooked. And that's when I can say it without any fear of contradiction of the external forces. Look at the prominent Meru personalities that have served this country at very high offices that are able to call out an informal meeting, even before it goes to the president, and sit. There are ladies in that community, prominent in the current regime. Others have served, and they cannot see the need to bring up this issue of the embarrassment that is causing their community. And it is so in the social media. You see, I saw one in the social media of women who say that they are the most educated in this country. And I said, look at the ignorance. You can talk about education, but it is not touching the issues that the governor is going through. And just to, I thought, can I correct her? They are not the most educated. We have educated women all over this country. But what do you do with that education? Mm-hmm. From where I sit, and this is why I said I want to put my biases. Number one, the Meru community, irrespective of whatever political party, should form a fence around the governor before it goes to the Senate or wherever else. Sit with her separately and sit with the MCAs and say she's not going anywhere. We have governors in this country, and you read it from the auditor's report, that are worse in performance, in the way the resources are being used than Governor Kawira Mwangaza. And therefore, the hyping, they should do it in their mother tongue, in some separate forums where it doesn't come to us. I really do pray that the Senate is going to look at this issue in a way that saves her and also saves the dignity of the Meru community. I wish also that Governor Kawira would look and extend a hand of help, not only from those of her community who cannot listen to her. Let her look for other prominent ladies who have served as governors. This Governor Charity Ngilu, she served and she went through hell, but she finished her term. It was not easy. She can also look for Governor Kifuda Kibwana, Nyaga Wambora, who was also impeached, I think, 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 times. You know, let her get out and seek comradeship from others. I know when I was going through hell as mayor, I traveled all the way to Kisumu to look for the first woman mayor, the late Grace Onyango.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I did. And there's comfort in also letting somebody tell it as it is. But I would pray that she's given a chance and let them sort her out in the next elections. Like Waziri says, they may be shocked. Yeah, okay. That he just might get in. In 2022, during the elections, I was handling that area. And I did do an exit report. And I wrote it to my boss. And I told him, this lady is getting it. And she got it.
Wow.
Because I had to check the ground.
Mwangaza to face MCAs again as Senate begins censure probe. Yes, the Senate is holding a special sitting beginning today to hear the charges that led to the impeachment of Governor Kawira Mwangaza of Meru County. How will it go? We'll be watching that and we'll bring you the updates. I want us now to look at some politics, and I'll take you back to the front page of the Standard. There's a there that says, Uhuru, ever-present force, even in retirement. Last week we saw, for the first time, Raila Odinga come out and sensationally claim that it was the retired president who asked him to talk to William Ruto and proceed in the line that he did in nominating some members to the cabinet. Many people questioned whether or not that was true. Some of the aides of the retired president says it wasn't true, including the SG of Jubilee Party, Jeremiah Kioni. But we've heard, this is not the first time that many people are trying to invoke the name of the retired president. Even the deputy president himself within Mount Kenya region has from time to time invoked the name of the retired president or the very first lady of this country. We've seen even within Azimio itself, Kalonzo Musyoka now invoking the name of the retired president and saying he will hold and chair a meeting of the Azimio coalition. At some point, we had dismissed the retired president. In fact, he was being told, leave this space, you've done your bit, go on retirement. Now everyone appears to have found a necessity to invoke his name. Why is this?
Well, thank you very much, Fred. I think this is now at the heart of the current political formations. Justifications of why we are where we are. You must definitely find a place, someone to blame if you find yourself in a situation like where we are now. The reunion between ODM, or not even ODM, but Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga and Ruto, that has created a new atmosphere, environmental and also political atmosphere. And there was no public participation. It was something shrouded in secrecy. And so even when Raila Amolo Odinga claims that he was instigated or advised by Uhuru Kenyatta, it's still a very private matter. There's no one who was there. I'm not so sure that even Mumbi was there. But it's something that was quite personal. And so when to come out into public and say, this is what happened, that's what creates the furor. That's what creates the controversy. Was the former Prime Minister really in a position? Was he really prepared to open up in a public place like that and say, Uhuru Kenyatta was on who discussed this matter with me? It's stating it in a place which was very important within the Rift Valley, where the matter is supposed to be discussed on, how the community feels about this. But my other input on this is it actually helpful to say that? Was it really helpful to say that it was Uhuru Kenyatta who, what cause does it help? What is it that helps? Saying that in Rift Valley at this moment, I don't know whether it adds any value. But the man we're talking about, Raila Amolo Odinga, is the enigma, as has been said, of this political environment, and has therefore qualified himself as that he knew what he was saying. But come back to the controversy. The controversy now is Uhuru Kenyatta is still a man in the Azimio coalition. And he didn't leave the coalition. And because he was actually at the head of the coalition, he could not have been dismissed by anyone, not to have any influence on the matters of the coalition, remotely or when he's present or not. And now the confusion has come as to the issue of trust. So whom do you trust in the matter? Raila in this case? Or what the remainder of the Azimio, actually not even the remainder, is still the Azimio, because I don't think that Raila has left Azimio. The leaders of Azimio who are not in ODM are claiming that position is not correct. And so there is a kind of washing of dirty linen coming out in public. And I think that's not very good for our situation right now. So, because what are you casting aspersions on the former Prime Minister? Therefore, that his word is not, and I'm sure that they speak with Uhuru. So, but until Uhuru comes out, until the former president comes out and speaks, it shall not be known what the real situation is. But let me just say this about the importance of clarity in trust issues, because we have not been clear enough. The communication is still our problem. You know, President Ruto says he was failed by his people because they're not communicating clearly. That's why he has to come out personally and communicate clearly on a daily basis. You know, you don't blame the president for going around the country on the rooftops because he doesn't believe that somebody else can communicate clearly what he intends to do. I'm sure he fails many times, but it's the same thing that has come out. So what is the clear position on whether Uhuru said these things or not? The one thing I know is that he's a nationalist, he's interested in what goes on in the nation, wherever he is. As a former president, he has really the country at heart. Mm-hmm. And so whichever position is going to be an advantage to the country, I think Uhuru will take that position. Okay. Because he has so much interest in this country.
But everyone appears to be finding the importance or the necessity of getting the retired president's support. It appears it's something common across the political divisions, that even the deputy president feels it is necessary that he invokes the name of the retired president. Raila Odinga now feels the same, and Kalonzo Musyoka now claims, yes, we will sort out Azimio because Uhuru Kenyatta is coming to chair a meeting. Everyone appears to have found suddenly that this retired president is very important and he should be on my side.
Yeah, Fred, there is what they call in marketing buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse in the sense that at times you go to a shop, you buy an item, after 2 days you realize I should not have bought this thing. And in politics, there is what we call post-facto remorse. Post-facto remorse in the sense that at times people elect somebody, later on they regret, why did we do this? Now, many people in Kenya, and particularly in central Kenya, seem to have understood President Uhuru Kenyatta in the right form. And therefore, he has gained a bit of momentum.
After 2022.
After 2022. Because he was vilified by his own deputy for almost half of the period, under the guise that, okay, this issue of a handshake should not have taken place, only for him to do the same handshake and even improve on the handshake by getting 6 ministers from Raila. President Uhuru Kenyatta did not get any minister from Raila in the handshake arrangement. It was understanding, let us have peace. Kenya is greater than any one of us. And they worked very well. But that was used almost to flimfy Raila to the extent that anything that went wrong, you blame it on the handshake. Mm-hmm. You blame it on Kitendawili. You blame it on the magician. You blame it on, you know, all those names. But so, with the passage of time, people realize Uhuru is a gentleman. And anybody, and he has gained a lot of ground back in central Kenya. If he was to support anybody, this time it will not be like the last election, where almost people were voting against him by voting against Raila. So it is a different game plan. And therefore, those who are in the system today, they are worried. 47% of their votes are at stake. And they don't know whether they will be able to gain the ground or they will lose it. And that's why they have to invoke all manner of things on Uhuru. You see, even in the social media, there is a lineup that they have drawn, and they are making it heavily Kikuyu as a way of isolating Kikuyus. Mm-hmm. For Kenyans to say, okay, they want to take back power. And of course, the danger also that some people are making is to compare the current president with President Moi. The two are two different individuals, mm-hmm. and make it like the Kalenjin issue. That is where some people go wrong. They say inept, incompetent, Kalenjin government, as if all Kalenjins are inept and incompetent. Some of the people who let down the current president were not necessarily Kalenjins. Some of them are not Kalenjins. It's only that the Kalenjin almost took another position of display of affluence, display of largesse, and exuding a lot of arrogance against the public. Now, the other issue is that we seem to be getting the wrong answers for the right questions. Because even this arrangement between Raila and President Ruto, for me, I would be very hesitant to be part of. Because when we go to the opposition, and we wanted Prime Minister Raila Odinga to win, and that's why I crossed over almost on the eve of the election. But when he didn't win, we should have been happy that let us remain in the opposition for the next 5 years. And I feel we need to do an audit of the Constitution, not because of this alone, even about the impeachment of Mwangaza'S, so that we are able to say these are the ground rules that you need to play with, such that we bring good manners to politics. Because we, all politicians, even the three of us here, the public has trusted deficit. They don't trust what a politician says. Because I say this today, tomorrow I say something else.
Okay, and there's a question that Bwanakirwa alluded to. I can see the same question on page 6 of the Standard.
Yeah.
Who takes the blame if the broad-based government fails? Is it UDA or ODM? Because now the president came out and said he doesn't want to be referred to as a Kayo, only him, that he needs a bigger team to handle the blame. So yes, now we're invoking the name of the retired president. So who takes the blame if this experiment that you're calling the broad-based government fails?
Fred, I want to take you back. Last year, 2023, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's birthday was celebrated in different counties across the country, especially counties that have people from Mount Kenya. You had cakes in markets, market centers, border guys celebrating Uhuru Kenyatta's birthday. I'm saying this one to alert you, especially where I come from. Uhuru has been recalled back by the people. They kept on asking him, please forgive us. We may have not listened to you. We called you names. We stole your goats and insulted your mother and so on and so forth. But forgive us. Come back and give us guidance. And that is when the other leaders in the Mount Kenya region tried to associate with Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm sure you can remember people calling up meetings and claiming that Uhuru Kenyatta will be present in those meetings. That tells you that apart from the 47% votes that they are talking about, now other leaders across the country understand that the central Mount Kenya region are waiting for Uhuru Kenyatta to speak and give guidance. That's number one.
Including ODM leader Raila Odinga?
Yes. I will say yes for the time being, but listen to me. Then let me bring this one from a different perspective. When we talk about Uhuru Kenyatta talking to Raila Odinga and vice versa, we take ourselves to a league that we don't belong, with respect to all of us. Sometimes I am a spider in the room, and I can tell you without any fear of contradiction, they speak to each other. What they talk about, I cannot talk about it here because it will be bad manners. But the nature, the league at which they are, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, let not any other leader in this country for now purport to have gotten to that league. The two of them, and I will say it without shame, speak to the president. Because that's another league. It's another league. And therefore, if we are able to respect those leagues, we will not be in any confusion. Because at their level, they all care about this country. For my party leader to invoke the name of Uhuru Kenyatta is because at their league, they are able to pick issues that they can sort out, like they have, and the country has come down. I keep on feeling very sad about this opposition seat that belongs to my party leader. But we have never considered the arrangement of doing opposition politics, but we are doing it without the help of a consolidated fund from the exchequer. I always say my boss is a very strong person, that he can run opposition politics for 5 years from resources that are not from government. And therefore it is open now. If it is so good, if it is so good, it is free. Let anybody take it and run the opposition politics. And it's from there that people will understand why sometimes it is important to have your foot in government so that you are able to reach out. As you speak, it becomes easier to access the powers that be and the resources to move across the country.
Okay.
My last one is on this is that I've talked about regionalism. It's happening, and it is scaring the Mount Kenya region. If you checked over the weekend, you could see a movement of Kikuyu Council of Elders. I don't know whether you saw it. That they have started talking to elders in Kisii, in Bugoma, in the Nyanza, and you know, it's a concern. It is a concern. And in the pretext of harmony, it's that regional curve that is scaring, that we might end up with the, are we still 41 or 42 or we've gone more? I think we are more now. The one region being carved out and verified for reasons that are not fair to the residents, but just the leadership of that area.
Okay. I have about 2 minutes or so, and I would want to divide it equally so that you get your parting shot, starting with you, Bwana Pogisio. Yeah, well, one aspect of this whole discussion that has been left out, of course, is the deputy president's situation, and which apparently is very fluid, and we just hope that that can also be sorted out. Is it invoking Uhuru, helping him? I don't know. I mean, let's see what that happens. I see that he's getting better along with his boss these days. Hopefully that's another reason why people have to speak to Uhuru Kenyatta, because he has a lot of influence. But I'd like to thank Dr. Mumbi, because I mean, she has shed a lot of light on some of the things that we didn't know, for example. But the problem is everybody speaks to Uhuru privately,
And now we get to know it publicly. That makes it difficult for us to judge. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I'm worried about the headline on the Standard. Terror squads unleashed on Gen Z. You know, this is a very serious issue that the president at the beginning of time made serious commitment that there will be no extrajudicial killings, there will be no abductions, all these other issues. Of course, he has broken one of the initial whatever. He had said he was going to respect his deputy, not to treat him the way he was treated by the former president. But these terror squads is something that is anti-democracy and is something that is not hygienic in terms of the way forward. It displays the bad manners that we have always repeated, that in politics there is bad manners. And in politics there is also trust deficit. We no longer trust what the president said at the beginning of time.
We still have a minute for you. Final comments on this.
Fred, thank you. This forum allows us to speak our mind and to, personally from where I sit, I am happy. We did appeal from here to the president to speak to his colleagues, and he did. He may not have done it the way we expected it, but he has done it. So keep on calling us. Thank you very much. Keep on engaging others. We are contributing to the stabilization of this country.
And finally, you've accepted the title of advisor to the president.
No.
It's a shared title on this panel. Thank you so much, Dr. Mwambi Ngaru, our panelist this morning. She has served as member of the East Africa Legislative Assembly and before that as mayor of Thika Town. Samuel Pogisio, ICT Minister in the Kibaki II administration and also served as majority leader in the Senate. And Kipruto Arap-Kirwa, Agriculture Minister in the Kibaki I administration. Our panelists this and every Monday as we discuss the big headlines. A lot more we could talk about, but of course the big one today is what will be happening in the Senate with the expected special sitting to consider the charges against Governor Kawira Mwangaza. That and a lot more will be being live later on. For now, after the break, another